Maya Carter was a confident teenager, well known at her high school for speaking her mind, especially when it came to defending what's right. But what started as a simple debate with a classmate quickly escalated into something much darker. Officer Todd Wallace, a corrupt cop, took offense at Maya's words, and his nephew, who was part of the debate, was on the losing side. What happened next was shocking. When Maya refused to back down, Officer Wallace poured water all over her, humiliating her in front of the entire school. The crowd went silent as Maya wiped the water from her face, stunned by the act. But little did Officer Wallace know Maya wasn't just any girl. She was the daughter of someone far more powerful and feared than he could ever imagine. Maya's father, Colonel Daniel Carter, was one of the most respected and dangerous commanders in the U.S. military. A Delta Force legend. As the corrupt officer smirked, Maya's mind raced, realizing that this was no longer just about her. It was about standing up for the greater good, and it was time for her to make her move. Maya knew that she couldn't just let this slide. Her father, Colonel Daniel Carter, had always taught her to stand tall in the face of injustice, and she wasn't about to back down now. Her mind raced as she grabbed her phone and recorded Officer Wallace's taunt, his smug expression, and the harsh words that had followed. It was time for her to take a stand. But what Maya didn't expect was how quickly the situation would escalate. That night, after Maya shared the video with her mother, a firestorm began to brew. The whole town started talking, and people were demanding accountability. But what they didn't know was that her father, Colonel Carter, had been away on a high-stakes mission until now. Colonel Carter arrived home to find his daughter on the verge of becoming the face of a growing movement against corrupt officers. Maya explained everything to him, her voice steady but determined. "Dad, I need you to help me. He's bullying people and he needs to be stopped," Maya said, looking up at him. Her father's eyes hardened as he listened, his mind calculating. Without saying a word, Colonel Carter made a few calls. His reputation was feared, respected, and revered by the highest levels of military and law enforcement. And in moments like this, his actions spoke louder than words. It wasn't just about getting justice for his daughter. It was about fixing the broken system that allowed men like Officer Wallace to abuse their power. The stage was set for something bigger than anyone could have anticipated. As Colonel Carter set his plan into motion, the quiet town soon became the epicenter of something far bigger than a mere case of police brutality. Maya's story began to spread beyond local news outlets, picked up by national media, and soon it seemed like the whole country was watching. Maya had become a symbol of defiance, courage, and hope for others who had been silenced by corrupt systems. But the twist came when, just days before Maya was set to testify against Officer Todd Wallace, a shocking revelation surfaced. Officer Wallace wasn't just a corrupt cop in a small town. He was part of a larger, secretive syndicate that operated within the law enforcement agencies across the country. The network had deep connections, and many had tried to expose it before, but they had all been silenced. Maya's father, Colonel Carter, had unknowingly been part of a covert operation years ago that had tried to bring down this very syndicate. The corrupt officers had known his every move, and Wallace had been a key player in making sure that Carter's efforts were thwarted. The gravity of the situation hit Maya hard. It wasn't just about a personal vendetta against one officer anymore. It was about exposing a deeply entrenched network of corruption that spanned the very institutions that were supposed to protect them. But it wasn't too late. With her father's military training, her quick thinking, and her newfound resolve, Maya began to uncover secret ties that connected several high-ranking officers and government officials to the syndicate. It was a race against time to gather enough evidence before those involved could cover their tracks. Maya had always thought her father was her protector. Now she realized that she was a part of something bigger than herself, and together, they had the power to take down the corrupt forces that had been operating in the shadows. As the investigation unfolded, the pieces began to fall into place. Maya, with the help of her father and a trusted group of allies, meticulously gathered irrefutable evidence of the syndicate's corruption. The corrupt officers, including Todd Wallace, were exposed for their role in the web of crime, and the public outcry was deafening. Maya, once the victim, had now become the catalyst for a movement that demanded justice and accountability. The story didn't stop at Todd's humiliation of Maya. There were deeper layers of corruption at play within the police force. Maya's father, Colonel Daniel Carter, a decorated Delta Force commander, used his extensive military network and resources to quietly build an airtight case. What started as a personal vendetta soon turned into a far-reaching investigation that unearthed illegal activities and connections that went far beyond one officer's misconduct. Maya's bravery in sharing her story with the public not only led to the arrest of Todd Wallace, but also exposed a larger network of corrupt officials who had been abusing their power for years. The pressure from public opinion and the media caused shockwaves through the town, forcing local leaders to take action and demand accountability within their law enforcement systems. Despite the mounting tension and threats against her family, Maya remained determined. She had seen the destruction caused by systemic abuse of power and understood that this fight was about more than just her. It was about every person who had been silenced by fear and oppression. Then came the day of the final court hearing, a day that would change Maya's life forever. As she stood in front of the judge, her heart raced, but it wasn't fear. It was the rush of knowing that this was the moment she had been preparing for, a moment when the truth would finally be heard. The courtroom was packed with spectators, journalists, and even activists who had rallied behind Maya's cause. It was clear that this case had become symbolic of a much larger battle for justice. When Maya took the stand, the room fell silent. Her voice, steady and unwavering, broke through the tension like a force of nature. She told her story with raw honesty of the harassment, the abuse, and the courage it took to stand up against a system that had sought to silence her. But more than that, she highlighted the damage caused by a corrupt police force that had failed the very people it was supposed to protect. The intensity of Maya's testimony was undeniable. She painted a vivid picture of the years of systemic corruption, the lives ruined by unchecked power, and the way the law had been manipulated for personal gain. By the time she finished, there wasn't a single person in the courtroom who didn't understand the gravity of her words. Todd Wallace, who had once been so smug and arrogant, was visibly shaken. He was no longer the powerful officer who could control the narrative. Maya had turned the tables, and the truth was now inescapable. Her testimony was the final blow. Todd Wallace and several other officers were arrested on charges of abuse of power, corruption, and illegal activities. As the courtroom erupted into applause, Maya felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had done it. She had brought down the man who had tried to destroy her and exposed a web of corruption that had impacted countless lives. The news spread like wildfire, and the case became a landmark moment in the national fight for police reform. Maya had not only defeated her personal adversary, but had also sparked a conversation about systemic corruption and the urgent need for accountability. Her bravery became an inspiration to many others who had been afraid to speak out, proving that the power of truth could never be silenced. Maya's father, Colonel Carter, stood beside her with immense pride. He had seen her grow from a young girl with dreams into a powerful force for justice. His work as a military commander had been about protecting others, but seeing his daughter stand up for what was right was a moment he would never forget. It was clear that Maya's strength and resilience had not only saved her, but had changed the lives of so many others. In the weeks that followed, Maya's efforts led to a complete overhaul of the local police department. A new internal affairs division was established to root out corruption, and officers were required to undergo comprehensive ethics training. Maya, once a victim of injustice, now stood as a symbol of hope, resilience, and unwavering commitment to the truth. But Maya's journey didn't end there. With her newfound platform, she began speaking out about the importance of police accountability, justice for victims, and the need for change. She used her voice to advocate for communities that had been overlooked and marginalized. Her transformation from victim to advocate was a testament to her courage, determination, and the belief that one person could make a difference. Maya's victory was more than just about the fight she had won. It was about what her fight represented. It was about standing up against the systems that try to hold people down, about finding the strength to face the toughest challenges, and about never giving up on justice, no matter the cost. If Maya's journey has inspired you, make sure you hit that subscribe button on Dark Side of Luna to hear more stories of resilience, courage, and triumph. Don't miss out on our upcoming powerful stories that will leave you inspired and ready to make a difference. Remember, never stop fighting for what's right, and always stand up for the truth. Subscribe for more inspiring stories only on Dark Side of Luna.